Hey, welcome to Applied, a podcast of First Baptist Arnold. And so it's a podcast where each week we dig in a little deeper to Pastor Kenny's message and we apply it from what you heard this past week, this past Sunday. And I'm your host, Mark Stockton. And we're so excited that you joined us today, that you took some time out of your busy schedule to join us here. And so, first of all, I just want to say last week I forgot to say, and so because of who's here this week, I need to say this. I want to say thank you to Tom Bell for filling in for me a couple weeks ago. Me and my wife, we got away to Kansas City, so it was a good vacation. And so with that being said, today my special guest is Tom Bell. The one and only.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're excited you chose to come alongside of us. And so, man, thank you once again for hosting. You did such a phenomenal job with that. So thank you again. So, Tom, share with us something that maybe nobody else knows about you. I mean, you're our next gen pastor, so there might be something from previous when you were a youth pastor or whatever. But now, you know, whatever that might be, you might have met a famous person like a president. I know you've had some different connections in that area. But anyway, share with us whatever you'd like to, maybe something nobody else knows about you.
I'm a pretty boring guy, Mark, just to be honest with you. Besides being the commissioner of a fantasy football league that has international reach, I don't really do a ton. Hang out with my family, love to spend time with them. But yeah, fantasy football with the fellows. Half of our church staff is probably on the league. But yeah, I got to go to the All-Star game 2011. My wife got tickets, and we ended up at the All-Star game where President Obama was throwing out the first pitch. I spent more time watching the Secret Service guys on the roof than I did the game. But, so, yeah.
Was that, let's see, 2011, that was, who was that?
The president?
No, the All-Star game.
It was here at Busch. Pujols caught the first pitch from him. I don't remember.
But what I'm getting to, Tom, is that was not another team that you like, correct?
No, it was the All-Star game. It was like several teams. There was not many of my team that I represented there.
Cubs hardly ever. Yes. I mean, that's only happened once. I mean, I don't want to get into bad blood or anything, but I was just thinking about that when you said that.
I am a Cubs fan, but people pretty well know that. So.
Yeah, that's something that most people know. So once again, hey, thanks for joining us today, Tom. So this past Sunday, Kenny's sermon series were part 6, and what it was called was Together, Not Whatever. That was the theme of it. But the scripture reference was 1 Thessalonians 2:17 through 20. And just kind of a brief summary. If you weren't here this past Sunday or you haven't heard the sermon yet, there will be a link down in the description. You can go watch that now, or you can watch it later and join us back as we kind of delve into it, dig into it a little deeper. But just kind of a brief summary would be this. Pastor Kenny's sermon, it explored the vital importance of Christian fellowship and the deep bond that exists within a church family when we're worshiping together, when we come and meet each Sunday in person here on campus, and sometimes even with us online as well. And so I've just got a few things today that we want to kind of go through and maybe be able to apply some that we learned from this past Sunday, Tom. So one of those first things, as I was listening to Kenny, he emphasized the importance of gathering together as believers. How has being a part of a church family, maybe this church family here, or maybe a church family you've been part of before, Tom, how's that impacted your faith journey?
Yeah, I would say almost both ends, like now and previously. Growing up, went to several what I'll call dysfunctional churches, and they had a negative impact in one sense of I never really saw the church as like something you'd want to be a part of. It was go and you do it because it's what you're supposed to do, but they weren't marked by joy and togetherness. They were marked by arguments and disagreements and different sides being chosen and whatnot. And I remember when I came here, it was so much different. It just had a better feeling. Not that it's an ad for here, but I think this place is awesome. But there is a spirit here of there is that togetherness, that we are here for the sake of and the glory of God, but we're here together for that. And I think that it has changed my view of church, of what it means to follow God with other people. I had a very like individualistic kind of approach to what it meant to follow Christ. Like obviously we have our own individual path and journey that we're on with him.
Right.
But it's not isolated from the rest of the body too. And being here, I mean, just like community, the encouragement, the like accountability even of just like being able to have people that come along and spur one another on as we see in God's word, like that to experience that has helped and grown my faith, even as I've been here on staff, of just like being a part of the church is so much more than just we go to the same place like together at the same time. It's we're doing this like together. We're helping each other in it. I'm helping you. You're helping me. And we're happy about it too.
Right.
So
Right. You know, as Kenny was talking about that, he talked about how much he loves his church and how whenever he's gone, he misses the people that are here at church. And I find that in my own life. Like whenever I'm not here in person now, like whenever I was on vacation, I did watch online for just a little while. I didn't watch probably the whole service, but I watched most of Kenny's preaching and quite a bit of the music, but I did watch that. And as I walked away from that, I do miss not talking to people and not listening to them. And that part there, it helps me grow as well. And, and people are a blessing to me as I hope that I'm a blessing to others, because that's where we kind of share with, hey, this is what we're going through. This, hey, I've got a question on this. It might be a question on, hey, when's Kids Week or whatever, but it also might be, hey, Mark, I'm just really struggling right now in this area of my life. Can you pray with me? And a lot of times whenever, just our members come here, they'll go into a small group and they'll share that, or they might share it with somebody that they're sitting next to on a Sunday morning in church. And so just the incredible importance of being able to live life together, and many times, even from that during the week, and even like this podcast here, we're able to sit down and go, hey, in light of what Kenny said this past Sunday, or in light of whatever your small group teacher is, whether that's in Next Gen or kids area or in our adult small groups, to be able to say, hey, whenever so-and-so said this, it made me think of this. What do you think? Because that's all part of our growing as believers.
Yeah. I look at like God's word and you see like, do not forsake the assembling. And I think a lot of times we take that as like, oh, it's I got to check off that I've done this. Yeah. It's kind of a requirement. Yeah. But it's for our benefit. Yeah. Like that it really is. Don't forsake this, because you're going to get so much out of it. Like we stand in the lobby a lot and talk with people that come by, and like it's just amazing to check in with people and talk with what is going on, and then to go in and worship like together. It's just a bond that is closer to where when we are out of town. I was out in May or late April, and it's like I was out for a Sunday. And it felt weird, like because it's like, well, normally I'm connecting with people, we're worshiping like together, and I can watch it online, and it's good, and it's a good tool, but like it's just not the same. Yeah.
So, and we'll talk about that probably here in just a second. But the next thing that I want to kind of discuss with you, Tom, was Kenny had this analogy of a battleship and a cruise ship, which whenever I heard that, I was like, that is a really good way to describe how some people view churches. And so how do you see that comparison applying to churches today, or does it? Yeah. Maybe I'm looking at something and going, yeah, that really doesn't apply. But do you see that happen today in church culture, let me say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all those churches that I grew up in that were not good were cruise ships, right? Yep. And it's a mentality that says, I am coming here. What will you do for me? Yeah. And I'm not a big cruise kind of guy. I've never been on a cruise. Have no desire to go on one. But I've kind of looked at it more of like a country club, to where it's like I have membership, so that gives me rights and privileges. Yeah. And that approach is completely against what God calls His church to be. And I love that battleship analogy of just like, look, this is not built for comfort. This is not built for you to have some things to fill your life with, like so you can have some activities and whatnot. This is built specifically for you to accomplish the job and goal that you have been tasked with by God. And years ago, when I was a little kid, we went down to Alabama. They have some sort of old battleship or something that you can go and like walk through. And I remember just thinking like, this would be awful, right? like everything's metal, tiny. Like it's not like, oh, there's a buffet line and couches. There's nothing like that. It's because we've gotten rid of everything that is not necessary for what we need to do to accomplish our goal, and like we have everything we need for our mission. And we're not going to let anything get in the way of that. And I think churches that have the mindset of we are a battleship, we are here for a specific purpose, like. Man, we have so much of a clear mind when we are having that view that God has called us to do this, and we're not going to let anything get in the way. And I think that's where we don't have as many fights or issues or whatnot, because we're not fighting about, hey, it's my turn on the couch. It's, look, I'm at my post, I'm on my stand, and I'm ready to do what God has called me to do here.
Yeah, I've been to several different churches that, of course, whenever you walk out the door, they have right above, hey, you're getting ready to enter into your mission field. And so that's so important to remember that whenever we come in here, we're getting resourced, we're getting renewed, we're getting encouraged to go out into our mission field and to serve the Lord. And once again, it's not about our comfort. I kind of think about that sometimes whenever I think, and you've been on numerous mission trips, Tom, and how we go, and sometimes when we talk to other believers and they look at the American church as, kind of like the kind of the main thing that they look at. They go, well, there must be all these different things going on in your church. And sometimes we have to say, well, no, not really. Most of them are in those foreign countries are battleship churches, because they're going, hey, we're sending you out. We're sending you out into the bush. We might be sending you out in these different areas where it's really a struggle to be able to share Christ, and here's how you do it. And so we need to keep in mind that it isn't a cruise ship. It really is a battleship. And I just thought that was an incredibly relevant type of analogy, and I enjoyed it. So here at Arnold, we talk about online and how important that is. And I appreciate you sharing hey, don't forsake the assembling of ourselves. And not that we're legalistic here at Arnold. Hey, here's this thing is everybody can have vacations and get away. But anyway, we have that online participation. And once again, it's a blessing to be able to click into that if you're homebound, or if you're on vacation or whatever, kind of like what I did, probably what you've done many times. But how might it potentially hinder? How does it hinder that face-to-face fellowship, though, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely in favor of it. Just with the nature of my job, working for a church, when we have a sick kid, my wife is at home.
Exactly.
And so it's great for her to be able to stay and watch that service. But again, there's something that's missing there. And I think back to that first Sunday of COVID, when we were shut down in COVID, and it was for the longest time, besides the vacation time, I had been here every week forever. And I was like, that first Sunday, I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. We have a week at home. And then after a while, though, you're like, I don't like this. Because I am disconnected. Because yes, I can get information, but community is much harder to get from a distance. And I think that, you look at all of Paul's writings, and he said, man, I long to be with you again. He's still communicating with them, but there's a difference between taking in the information and processing that and doing life with each other. And it's a phrase I feel like we use a lot in church, of doing life together, because there's no great way to say hey, I'm going to sit there and listen to you talk about what's going on rough in your life, but also we're going to celebrate what's going well, and we're just going to walk through these moments of life, the ups and downs, with each other. And it's so much harder to do that from a distance. Yeah, it's possible, but it's not the same. And I think that we use the online as a tool, and there's so many people that it's a front door to our church.
Oh yeah,
it used to be, hey, I want to come and find out what your church is about. Most people that walk in our doors now know, okay, yeah, I know this. I heard the sermons from the past 6 weeks or whatnot. I know you have this. I heard these announcements that are coming up. They have a taste of it, but what they're getting for the first time when they show up is, here's who we are as the bride of Christ. Here's who we are together. Here's how you can fit in to be a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be a certain time, really kind of before the pandemic, that most people's first touch with us was the website. And the website was incredibly important, and it still is. But now it seems to be that online presence, most people check us out there first. And just like this podcast being online and being able to access that. And so, yeah, just incredibly important. How does the thought, Tom, of an eternal reunion with believers in heaven affect your view of or on relationships within the church today? And is it all that important for you to have? You know, we're probably coming back to this again. We've talked about this a little bit, but in light of that, thinking about what heaven might be, what are these relationships that we're making here on earth? Are they all that important? What would you think?
Yes, relationships are important, Mark. It is kind of a weird thing because, of course, our ultimate relationship is like me and Jesus. Like that relationship being right so the greatest joy of heaven is being with Him. But there's people that have gone before us that are no longer here, that we're friends with, we love dearly and care about, that are gone. And it will be great to be back with them. But what will be great about that, I think, is we'll be with them worshiping Jesus, where we're not worried about the air conditioning. We're not worried about anything else. It's just we're in His presence, and the things of this world, the cares of this world are gone. And it's just us with people that we loved and walked with worshiping Christ together. And I think so, like, again, it is hard because we don't know, will I know this person in heaven? I don't know. I've never been there yet. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I know we'll be in the presence of Jesus. And I think we are the bride of Christ, and there's a part of heaven it's like communal, that we're all there worshiping Him. It's not like we're in our own cubicle worshiping Him, and we're like, so I think there's something beautiful about that. I don't know what it's like, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I agree. Well, once again, hey, thank you for joining us today, this week, and thank you for all you do in Next Gen Ministries and your leadership in that. Sure do appreciate you. And of course, Tom's going to be kind of my stand-in from time to time when I'm not able to be here. And so you're really hearing from two hosts today, really.
One main host. This guy tries to fill boots.
But anyway, hey, if this podcast has been an encouragement to you, I would ask that you please click like and share this with others. However, also, we are now on Apple Podcast and also Spotify, and so you can look us up on First Arnold that way, and you'll be able to subscribe to that and turn on your notifications whenever we download the next podcast, and you'll be able to catch that right away. And so once again, hey, just thank you once again so much for joining us today. Hey, real quick, what I wanted to share with you is, of course, we talk about applying this. And so one last thing, what I want you to think about is, I want you to think about doing this. If you're not coming in person here to First Arnold, I want you to consider committing to, a regular in-person attendance in our services and in our small group for 1 month. And at the end of that month, I want you to kind of reflect on what your experience has been. If it hasn't been good, please let me know. I'd love to know. But I have a feeling that if you do that and you make relationships, you're going to be blessed through that. So anyway, that's my thing of how I'd like to encourage you to apply what you've heard this past Sunday this week. And so with that, once again, thank you for joining us. Tom, would you close us in prayer as we
Absolutely.
Close? All right.
God, we love you. You are so good. God, we just thank you for community. God, we thank you, God, for the model that we see in Acts 2 of the church doing life with each other, sharing everything, meals, life, spending time in your word together. God, we thank you for the model we have of that. And God, I pray that, God, as we look to apply what we've heard to our lives, God, that we would resist the cruise ship sort of mentality, but God, that we would just embrace our calling and the mission that you have given us, not only as individuals, but as your church. And God, that we would help each other in that. God, that we would encourage each other in that. And that we would not forsake the assembly of ourselves, not because we feel like we have to appease you, but because you have given us that command for our good and our benefit and for the glory of your kingdom. And God, I pray that we would live that out. God, we would experience your church and worshiping you. And that, God, it would change the way that we see you. It would change the way that we live our lives, so that we can be better equipped to fulfill the mission you've given us. And God, we just thank you for that. And thank you for the time today. Thank you for Mark. In your name, amen.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.